council together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us break their shackles asunder and cast away their chain from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, Yahweh shall have them in derision. Then he will speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his soul, his pleasure.
Hello, good day. Welcome to Line by Line Bible Studies. We're continuing our study today in the book of Job. We're in chapter 22. Eliphaz will continue with one of his more searing indictments of Job. I'm going to tighten this down a little bit. Oh, there we go. That's very nice. Verse 1. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, can a man be profitable unto God, as he that is wise may be profitable unto himself? Is it any pleasure to the Almighty that thou art righteous? Or is it gain to him that thou makest thy ways perfect? Will he reprove thee for fear of thee? Will he enter with thee into judgment? Is not thy wickedness great, and thine iniquities infinite? For thou hast taken a pledge from thy brother for naught, and stripped the naked of their clothing. Thou hast not given water to the weary to drink, and thou hast withholden bread from the hungry. But as for the mighty man, he had the earth, and the honorable man dwelt in it. Thou hast sent widows away empty, and the arms of the fatherless have been broken. Therefore snares are round about thee, and sudden fear troubleth thee, or darkness that thou canst not see, and abundance of waters cover thee. Is not God in the height of heaven? And behold, the height of the stars, how high they are! And thou sayest, how doth God know? Can he judge through the dark cloud? Thick clouds are covering to him. Thick clouds are a covering to him, that he seeth not, and he walketh in the circuit of heaven. Hast thou marked the old way which wicked men have trodden, which were cut down out of time, whose foundation was overthrown with a flood? Which said unto God, depart from us, and what can the Almighty do for them? Yet he filled their houses with good things. But the counsel of the wicked is far from me. The righteous see it, and are glad, and the innocent laugh them to scorn. Whereas our substance is not cut down, but the remnant of them the fire consumeth. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. Thereby good shall come unto thee. Receive, I pray thee, the law from his mouth, and lay up his words in thine heart. If thou return to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up. Thou shalt put away iniquity far from thy tabernacles. Then shalt thou lay up gold as dust, and the gold of Ophir as the stones of the brooks. Yea, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. For then shalt thou have thy delight in the Almighty, and shalt lift up thy face unto God. Thou shalt make thy prayer unto him, and he shall hear thee, and thou shalt pay thy vows. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, and the light shall shine upon thy ways. When men are cast down, then shalt thou say, there is lifting up, and he shall save the humble person. He shall deliver the island of the innocent, and it is delivered by the pureness of thine hands. I don't have a next chapter. I'm going to go get it, though. You know, like I said, I know we will not go into the next chapter. I just like to read it anyways, because each of these chapters in isolation is too isolated, too out of context. The overlap is sufficient. I mean, like I said, the one saving grace, well, maybe not the one, but it's the saving grace, is that the argument, while it shifts, it never changes. And so we can keep track of what the basic flow of the argument is without a whole lot of trouble. Okay, we're going to continue reading here, but let me just get from my Bible collection. I'm just off screen doing this. Chapter 23. And then we'll just drop it in here into good old Notepad. What's that program you use for the Bible text, Paul? It's called Notepad. But also it's, I just think that's funny because, like I said, it's going along with OBS Studio. No one ever asks, and if you did, don't be afraid to leave a comment. So then Job answered and said, this looks like a short chapter. I'm just going to double check that I got all of it. Yeah, only 17 verses in this one. A quick reply. Even today is my complaint bitter. My stroke is heavier than my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come even to his seat. I would order my cause before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would know the words which he would answer me and understand what he would say unto me. Will he plead against me with his great power? No, but he would put strength in me. Therefore the righteous might dispute with him. So should I be delivered forever from my judge. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand, where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, and I cannot see him. But he knoweth the way that I take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. My foot hath held his steps. His way have I kept and not declined. Neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. But he is in one mind, and who can turn him? And what his soul desireth, even that he doeth. For he performeth the thing that is appointed for me. And many such things are with him. Therefore am I troubled at his presence. When I consider, I am afraid of him. For God maketh my heart soft, and the Almighty troubleth me. Because I was not cut off before the darkness, neither hath he covered the darkness from my face. Oh, wait a second here. 24. Oh, no. See, it wasn't a short chapter, because Job doesn't stop there, and I don't want to stop reading there. We'll still go back. And just to be sure, well, there's the next chapter, which is really short. Their arguments get shorter. Yeah. I said it's been a while for me. I said I was discouraged. Job, don't read Job. You can't trust what's in Job. True. But the truth is, you can't trust what you think you understand it means. Period. Lean not on your own understanding. So, well, you think you know what that means? Like I said, when Satan tempted Jesus, throw yourself off the temple, for it is written, he will give his angels charge concerning thee. A lot of people think along the same lines, like, nothing bad can happen to me because I'm a Christian. And it's like, are you better than Job? Oh, yes. Oh, no. Because God loved Job just like he loves you. And all things work together for good for Job, just like all things work together for good for you. Just hard to see. I complaint bitter my stroke peppermint was 23, then 24. Just want to see what he says next. That's why I had trouble seeing it. Why, seeing times are not hidden from the Almighty? Do they that know him not see his days? Some remove the landmarks. They violently take away flocks. They feed thereof. They drive away the ass of the fatherless. They take the widow's ox for a pledge. They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hide themselves together. Behold, as wild asses in the desert go they forth to their work, rising betimes for prey. The wilderness yieldeth food for them and for their children. They reap every one his corn in the field, and they gather the vintage of the wicked. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, that they have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains, and they embrace the rock for want of a shelter. They pluck the fatherless from the breast, and take a pledge of the poor. They cause him to go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaf from the hungry, which make oil within their walls, and and tread their wine presses, and suffer thirst. Men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out, yet God layeth not folly to them. They are of those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and the needy, and in the night is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. In the dark they dig through houses, which they had marked for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light. For the morning is to them even as the shadow of death. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. He is swift as the waters. Their portion is cursed in the earth. He beholdeth not the way of the vineyards. Drought and heat consume the snow waters. So doth the grave those which have sinned. The womb shall forget him. The worm shall feed sweetly on him. He shall be no more remembered, and wickedness shall be broken as a tree. He evil entreateth the barren that beareth not, and doth not good to the widow, and draweth also the mighty with his power. He riseth up, and no man is sure of his life. No man. Though it be given him to be in safety, whereon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other, and cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. And if it be not so now, who will make me a liar, and make my speech nothing worth? So, it's interesting to read through all of it when we're going line by line, which involves reading through all of it. Stop and think about it. Eliphaz's reply, again, very prosperity gospel-ish. If you do the right things, everything's going to be great. And that's a simplified view of it, but let's look at each part of it. Some of it is true, and that's why, to some degree, this is true. It is often in true. I've been very blessed by God, but it's been a mixed bag. I've had challenges in life. If you're not prepared for that, if you think everything's just supposed to be easy, it can be easy to lose your faith. I thought if I believed in Jesus, nothing would ever go wrong again. Well, you got to understand that's after the resurrection. And even that, truthfully, nothing ever has gone wrong in the sense of just like as though things were out of control. Nothing went wrong. It wasn't like God was like, oh, I made humans and it went all wrong. No. It was all accounted for from the beginning. God was not presented with these surprises that he had to, I got to adjust my plans. Oh, that devil, he's always messing up my plans. No. Can a man be profitable unto God? As he that is wise may be profitable unto himself. By being wise, I can profit myself. I can do a lot of good for myself through business or whatever ways in which I'm blessed with wisdom. I can, throughout, relationships, all those kind of things. Wisdom in those things is profitable. But who can profit God? Do I have some wisdom I can impart to him? As the Apostle Paul said in one of my favorite verses, I think it's 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 20. I don't usually use verses like that, but that's how ingrained it may be. In fact, I'm going to look it up real quick just to make sure that's what it is. It might be wrong. I as anyone knows who follows me, when was the last time I quoted that verse or even mentioned it? And it's not 4:20. It's maybe 4. Let's see. It's here somewhere. 4:12 maybe. That was my other thought. Nope. Anyway, here it is. Maybe it's the next chapter. Puffed up, right. This is glory and good. All right, that's really bad. I'm making a bad study out of it, huh? Hold on. Well, I'm 4. Wait. What? Okay. Well, I'm gonna look it up, and I'm gonna use the keywords glory, receive. It's 4:7. Oh, it's not 4:20. Well, I was close. 1 Corinthians 4, verse 7. Who maketh thee to differ from another? And what hast thou? Yeah, I'll just throw it in here. I'm just going to copy it. I don't want to bring up the Bible collection right now, but I'll just put it in right here after chapter 22. There we go. I think this is very... Who makes thee to differ from another? What makes you different from other people? Why are you smarter? Why are you maybe struggle with some things other people don't? What makes one person one way and one the other without making even value judgments? We're different, diversity. I don't believe diversity is bad. No, I married a woman who is very different from me, personality-wise. Sometimes differences like that can lead to conflict. Sometimes they add to synergies, where you're having we are complements to each other. But we're all a little different, and some more than others, right? But who makes us different? Well, our Creator did. That's the implicit answer to that question. It's a rhetorical question. It's not supposed to be hard. And what do you have that you did not receive? Now, what do I have that I didn't receive? Is there anything that I have in life that I did not get from somewhere else, including my own life? My own life. Is there anything that I have that I did not obtain some way through reception? Like through my parents, my education, and even my labor I receive. Now people say, well, I earned it. Okay, well, maybe that's not what he's talking about so much. He's talking more about the things that make us different from each other. Like differing gifts. And that was that was more of the point in chapter 4. People were glorying. You know, if you received it, especially the gifts of the Spirit and such things, why do you glory? As if you have not received it. You know, I can look at my gifts. You know, I play music, I write songs, right? Some people think they're good, some people don't. You know, I do Bible study, some people think they're good, some people think they don't. I can sympathize with both sides because I know that it's not whatever. I don't like I've always said, I don't think anything I do is for everybody or that everyone should praise it. Why would I expect that? That's not even the way the world works. I mean, that's not the way. They didn't all praise Jesus, you know. I mean, they should, but they didn't. So it shouldn't affect me whether I get all men saying good things about me. That's irrelevant. It's whether you actually do with your gift what God intended for you to do with your gift. If that be small or if that be great, your faithfulness to what he's given you is the important part. Anyways, but the main point is we should not glory in the gifts given of God. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying. It made me think of what Eliphaz was saying. You know, how can we really profit God? He's already given us everything. There's no wisdom we have that that we have not received, if it's any good. There's nothing. Is it any pleasure to the Almighty that thou art righteous? Now, it says in other places in Scripture, the Lord does take pleasure in the righteous man. So I would say, I think he's just flat out wrong. See, he's doing this thing where he's like, God is so high, he doesn't even care about your righteousness. Now, all your righteousness is as filthy rags. But that is not to say that God doesn't care about what you do as far as right and wrong. That's what the whole idea of judgment is, and about the wages of sin. God thinks we deserve payment for the things we do in the flesh. A reward. If we would do good, we would receive good, and if we would do evil, we receive evil. The truth is, though, from Christianity's perspective, we understand that all men have sinned and come short of this glory of God. But God in his graciousness sent his Son to pay the price for our sins. But the thing is, even prior to that, in Job's time, Job was following something like that in hope was looking towards the day of Jesus. You know, you can tell it between the lines, especially having the revelation of the New Testament. I can look back and look at Job and say, Job, well, you wanted to know about the resurrection of Jesus and the assurance that would bring, that your hope was not in vain. And that you know, that when bad things happen on the earth and everyone's like looking at you and mocking you for your downfall, that at least you can still take comfort that God has not abandoned you. Even though it feels like he's abandoned you. Eli, Eli, lama azafthani. Why have you forsaken me, my God? You know, Jesus quoted that from the cross. It so disturbs some people that they want to say he never said that he didn't mean that. Other people are like, oh, God turned his back on Jesus. They're all literal about it. Yeah, and you know, and the angels will grab you if you jump off a building. You know, there's some things that we should simply understand to be correct. God never forsook Job. God had no wrath towards Job. He was not punishing Job. Nothing of the sort. Something entirely different. Like Job begins to hint at, he does what he wants, and I don't understand what, and I'm terrified, but I'm not going to curse him. He's my God. I did as he said. I submitted to the things. And now, okay, bad things happen. You're mocking me, whatever, but it's like, I'm going to maintain my integrity. I'm still going to say the truth. I'm not worthy of this. I haven't done anything. And they're sort of saying like, oh, your righteousness doesn't matter. God doesn't care about your uprightness, that you follow him. That you know, he doesn't even care how hard you try. What gain is it to him that you make your ways perfect? God doesn't need this. He doesn't. That's true. But you know what? He's not so callous. He is not so high that he cannot be touched with your feelings. I mean, he is not a God so separated from his creation that he doesn't care. He does. So Eliphaz is wrong. He sent his son. He loved the world at least enough to do that. God is a little austere, like as Jesus in the parable. I knew that you were an austere man with the talents. He is not joking around. He's not going to let people just do whatever and say, oh, it's okay. Now that you know you're real, you know I'm real. You're sorry, right? He's not going to do that. He's going to say, no. He won't curse at them. He won't use profanity as I was about to. I'm sure he won't curse. Well, he says, depart ye cursed into everlasting fire. So he might curse at him. Yeah, he might curse at him. Telling someone to go into everlasting fire is about the most cursed thing you could say to someone. Go into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. And it's not just saying go to hell. It says, it's meaning go to hell. I mean it right now. God doesn't gain so much from you making your way perfect, but it does please him because he has chosen to interact with men. He is not so high and mighty that he does not care that he has asked us to do these things. He has told us, he has showed us, he has given us vision, given us hope. It is not in vain that he has asked us to do these things. To make our ways. Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. According to Jesus, God does care. Will reprove thee for fear of thee? Of course not. Paul is so righteous, I can't reprove him. Now, I want to check reprove though, what that meant, because maybe that's not the best translation. I remember thinking as we read it. Let's go right to the NIV. Sorry, I got a little. As I'm talking, sometimes I'm reading, I hear my stomach going off all the time, and I think it's kind of funny because I never acknowledge it. But there we go. I tried to eliminate the snuffling, and that's been I've been happy for that, and it's been better. Can man be of benefit to God? Because can I give him anything he didn't already give me? Well, no, I really can't. Even I was thinking that love, he loved us first. Okay. And why do I love these things? Why do you believe these things? Because flesh and blood has not revealed it to us. Is not your wickedness great and your sins endless? Okay, right. Is it for your piety that he rebukes you and brings charges against you? Okay. That's kind of interesting. The NIV, they chose to translate it that way, which is an interesting which sort of hints at Satan's what he actually did. But for fear of you, will he reprove, or does he rebuke? Is he rebuking you? Whatever. For fear of you, like that's what they've had. Is it for your piety? Because like the fear of God is a pious man fears God. Piety is religiously observant. In English, anyways. But maybe we should look at it in the Hebrew since there's some. I think that's interesting though, because that's like, yeah, that's exactly why this is happening. It's not a rebuke though. It's Satan who's saying, oh, no. Job only serves you because you keep a hedge around him. You never let anything bad happen. You protect him. Because, like it says, the Lord will hide thee in the shadow of his hand, because, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shelter of the Almighty. All these comforting words, comforting songs. Everyone likes those comforting words and songs. That's why I always used to like to write songs for church that were discomforting. Be afraid, be horribly afraid, for the Lord my God is against you. I used to I would flip things on their heads. Some people didn't like it, obviously, because it's like they wanted a nice church. It's kind of like it, so I never had much luck at church. Just like at the Cub Scouts, I think all the ladies wanted to play nice arts and crafts. Oh, it's church. It's Cub Scouts. We want to make it nice with glue buttons on things. We don't want this person to bring masculinity into it. I think that's why I've coached wrestling for 18 years, because somehow in that thing nobody ever complains when you bring masculinity to it, because they kind of understand what they're getting into. People do often rebuke you for your virtues. Satan, that's the work of Satan. And I tell my kids when I send them to school, sometimes people will hate you because of your virtues. Just like the reason, sometimes people despise people who are popular. But being popular is like maybe the only thing they got going for. They'll point out like all the negative things about them. Well, everyone's got negative things about them, but then a lot of people like them for some reason. And it's mostly envy, of course. Because we look at their faults and we say they don't deserve it, or they're mean, or whatever. It's like, well, I think craving the praises of men is a mistake in the first place. It's like, don't envy someone if you see them as wicked and they have something you think you want. It's just like I said, those things are very difficult to obtain without corrupting yourself. So don't envy it. That thin adoration that does not come from any real accomplishment, but just from some sort of, just like celebrity. There's no actual, the people who keep the electricity running should probably be we should be like, oh, these people are great, But instead it's people who get to be on screens and stuff. And many people want to have the same accolades and fame. And, as I was saying the other day, there's only a few people get that kind of get rich quick through being famous, and a lot of other people just end up being destroyed by it. And it's better to not even seek it. Seek first the kingdom of God, and all kinds of other nice things can be added to you. I've always sought first the kingdom of God, and I have people listen to me. It's like, I'm not trying to become some sort of big preacher. I don't want to be like them. You know what I mean? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't want to try to be like everybody else. I'm not trying to make a living off this. If I was going to do a Bible study that was like, I was working all day, researching, getting it all together, people were saying, Paul, I want you to do that and stuff. And maybe I would. And then if I felt like I'm putting 8 hours a day on this, I'd be like, I need you guys to support me. That would be the case. But I'm not doing that. So that's why you never hear me ask for anything. If I was, because the servant is worthy of his hire. I believe that. I've always said that. I always think pastors who do a good job, who serve their flocks faithfully, and and a lot of them do good work, especially, I don't think they're good teachers, many of them. I don't like the denominations, the way they just rubber stamp the doctrine forever and ever. But, in the actual serving of people, that's where it truly should be judged. And I know that there are people who really do serve out there, who really work hard for the good of other people out of love, even if they don't have the doctrine all right like I would like them to have. So is God rebuking us for our virtues? No, it's Satan. He's getting close to the truth. Because just sort of what Job is suggesting. Job isn't saying that, but Job's protestations sort of suggest, what, is God almost jealous of you? Is he rebuking you for your virtues? Because for fear of you, because, what would Job say? Job, he's such a righteous man. What will he think of me? Just like all these guys who think when they die, they're going to go before God and say, I'm going to tell God what's what. I'm going to tell him, you better, you're not running that world right. And let me tell you the thing or two. It's like, okay. Now, Job kind of talks like that, doesn't he? He kind of says, I want to talk to the Almighty. The thing is not in a disrespectful way. He just wants to hear, why? What is this about? I want to know the answers. I'm thankful for the degree to which I believe I have received answers, at least sufficiently that I can wrap my brain around something that makes sense. Like, what is God up to? Shouldn't put my hand there. And, what is he up to? What is his plan? What is he trying to accomplish? And so when I have a basic understanding of that, I feel I can sort of face the horrors of this world and all the injustices of it, all the unfairness of it, with hope that, and not just accepting it. I don't believe in that, like that sort of. I remember when they would teach about the medieval times, people just accepted their lot. I accept my lot before God, but I do not accept the wickedness of men in the earth. I will speak out against it. I will oppose it. We have to. Look at the way Jesus approached the powerful men of his age. He spoke against those things, at least in his local area. He didn't go after the Romans. That's true, or at least not seemingly. But in a sense, ultimately he did, in that all the things he taught ultimately undermined their entire thing, and his followers, were eventually seen as incompatible with the empire. Created a great conflict where a lot of them got murdered, but eventually it became the official religion of the entire thing. So, I mean, while he did not go direct, and that's the thing, it's like, you don't have to go directly at your enemy to defeat them. So I don't think necessarily, like the way that, when I see people trying to, like, debate with people, I always feel like they're too much trying to, like, prove this is right, or prove that is, and not, like, connect to a person on a level that's powerful. Because to me, it's like, it's not about the words and the proofs, it's about the power. Because if there's no power, because God is real and there is real power available. And I always think, through my faith and my knowledge, it's like, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, you will ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. I believe in that. But that's the kind of thing, it's like, when does that, when do you command that mountain and it moves? I'll tell you, when the word of God is so deeply ingrained in your mind that you are like his mouthpiece, and that the words of your lips are the words of his, that he has written. Let's go back. We enter with thee into judgment. What had they said there? Yeah, again, go and get in. Well, is he going to get into some sort of court dispute with you? Is it a pleasure? Oh, yeah, I got that one. Is not thy wicked? He's saying, the fact that you even think you could stand before God and lay out your case and speak before him, and all that in and of itself is sort of like great wickedness. Iniquity's infinite. If this is, and then he gives a bunch of, he's stabbing in the dark here. But I think he's saying, if you are so arrogant to think you could just stand before God and justify yourself, you're out of your mind. And this arrogance could only be the product of someone who's secretly doing all these evil things. You have taken a pledge from your brother for naught, and stripped the naked of their clothing. You took something. It's like taking a pledge for naught. Whatever. Usually, a pledge is like when you do a loan, you take the pledge and you give them the money. It says how you've taken the pledge, but you didn't give them anything. Some sort of injustice, and whatever. You've been unjust with your brother. You stripped the naked of their clothing. What did Jesus say? Naked and you clothed me. Hungry and you fed me. Right? I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was naked and you clothed me. I was in prison and you visited me. When did we do this to you? Inasmuch as you did it to the least of these, my brethren. The least of these. It's very clear that the people who are most despised are the ones God is most interested in. How do you treat the people that are most despised? That everyone else says they're garbage. It's okay to kill those people. Those people are, they're all bad. They're like a bad seed. And so, we can expel them, kill them, remove them. Those people. They have the same attitude towards Russians. You hear people talk about Russians, they're almost genetically defective. It's like, what is this? In what century am I living? The world has gone mad. Especially Europe. Now I watch them like getting all, I can't believe they actually are going to march off to war against Russia. Those They don't have the capacity to. They'll just have to face up to reality at some point, I hope. You've taken a pledge. You've stripped the naked of their clothing. You're not giving water to the weary to drink. You're withholding bread from the hungry. Things Jesus cares about. But as for the mighty man, he had the earth, and the honorable man dwelt in it. All right, what's 22:8 in the NIV? Okay. Though you were a powerful man owning land, an honored man living on it. You had land, you lived on it, you had honor. And though you could have helped people, you didn't. That's the implication. He was talking about himself because he was the mightiest man in the East, You have sent widows away empty. You must have, because God doesn't like you. And God, we know what God feels about the widows. He cares about what the widows and the fatherless. We know that. That's the ways of God. If you want to go, the ways of the wicked is who cares about people that are downtrodden? I got to get ahead. They got to go do something for themselves. I got no time for them. And the arms of the fatherless have been broken, right? What little strength they had was taken, in the ancient, we talk about today, I don't think it's controversial anymore to say that it's at least an advantage to grow up with two parents, a mother and a father. Not just two fathers or two mothers. That's not the same. The pairing is important. It's a benefit. Like if you grow up with a father and a mother, you have an advantage over people who grow up with just one. This is something that's statistically detectable. Right? So the fatherless have a hard time. People without fathers. They're dead or they're just gone. The child is a child. Especially in the old world, children, there was some abortion, but sometimes it's like, well, there's a baby, And but they would be fatherless. And widows, it was rough in the ancient world to be without a man who could lead the family and a family structure. Hopefully he has also a family structure that you marry into. And that's often how it was. See how Job has all his kids around him. A more patriarchal system. I am a patriarchist. I still kind of run my life as a patriarch. It's a soft patriarchy in that there's no explicit like, hey, you got to do what I say. It isn't like that. I think it was more, I consider, I do like soft power. I don't try to force it so much as I make my will known, and by being legitimate and trustworthy and reliable, everyone just kind of thinks my will should be done. And that's the way it gets. When you have respect, you don't have to demand it because you earn it. A lot of times people want respect. The wife's got to obey me. It's like, she should. But it's not the kind of thing I'm supposed to demand. It's supposed to be like, well, it's something that's got to be agreed on as far as when push comes to shove. Someone's got to be in charge. The arms of the father. So, again, growing up without a father, even harder. And then the idea of the arms being broken is like you've taken, what little strength they have, you've crushed. And there's no evidence of this. They're just making it up. He just said, based on the bad things, based on what's happened to you, you've done this or such like, I think is the idea. Snares around about thee. Sudden fear troubleth thee. Just like it says, sudden fear cometh upon the wicked. Just like the Bible says. Don't you believe the Bible? It says, so the wicked do this and then suddenly bad things. You reap what you sow. Right, Job? Or darkness that thou canst not see, and the abundance of waters cover thee. Darkness and waters. The abyss. The darkness, where you can't see, where it's like, and you can't, the idea of the abyss and the waters is like, that's near death. It's like existing in a place where you can't keep living. It's like a metaphor for that, I think. It's like you can't see in darkness, and in the waters you can't breathe. You can't, when the waters cover you, that's like a problem. I've been under the waters in the dreams. Is not God in the height of heaven? Again, he's so high. Just like they said, oh, he loves everybody so much. Not that much. He might love you a lot. But it's clear from the Bible that his love is on a sliding scale. Okay, it's not all one uniform love for everybody. It's not true. And that's evident in the world as you see it. And behold, the height of the stars. How high? They're so high. All these things are so high. And God is so high and above. And, this is important to remember. Like I said, God is not a man. He is not to be compared with us. He is not on our level. He does not owe us a living. He does not owe us rewards. He does not owe us these things. But he does do this because he is kind. He is merciful. That's why. It's not that he owes us. Eliphaz is right. God doesn't owe you. But also, he's not like that. He's not like that. He's not like, I'm so high, I could never come down. No, he came down. He came down and he humbled himself and submitted even to the death of the cross. So don't talk about just how high he is. He is high. What's even more wonderful is that he made himself low. And you say, how does he know? Can he judge through the dark cloud? He's saying, you're trying to, like that somehow, because this is hidden, you think God doesn't know. How can he know? How could he catch me? I've hidden it too well. Thick clouds are covering to him that he seeth not. Just saying in the Old Testament where it talks about God dwelleth in the thick darkness. Even in Mount Sinai, descending in the thick darkness. It doesn't mean that God is light. He dwells in the light whereunto no man approaches. But light also blinds. And so what I'm saying is, like, to approach to God is like a blinding experience. You can't see. The human eye cannot penetrate to where God actually is to see him. Look around. There's, like, wherever God is a complete darkness to us. It's a deep, thick darkness. Like, where is God? Where is he? Above, below? You cannot find him. And Job goes into this too. And because it's a theme of the whole thing. Can God judge me through the thick cloud? I can't see him. Maybe he can't see me. Because he's got a thick covering on. Maybe he doesn't see out of it. He walks through the circuit of heaven. He's up there. He's busy. He doesn't notice what I'm up to. You know what? Like in the old religions of the Romans and stuff, one of the things when I studied the shroud that I thought was interesting is that when the shroud appeared, or when the precursor of what I believe was the shroud would actually... And oh my brain. The image of Edessa. When it first became popularized, when it first became like brought into the public knowledge that there was this cloth with this image of Jesus' face on it. They didn't even know about the photo negative, but they knew about the thing and they could determine from it what he was kind of look like. And one of the things is art around that period, art changed. In the old days, before the 4th century, and you have to look into something with art to confirm this. Because I studied this for a while because I was really into the shroud and studying art from the ancient world and medieval times and art based on the shroud. Art used to be like you'd see profiles of the gods. They'd be like this. And they'd look at each other. And the gods would be like looking at each other because they were disconnected from human affairs. They were like, hey, Apollo, yo, da-da-da. They weren't paying. I mean, what's going on? Hey, somebody's making noise down there. What's going on? Oh, somebody's mocking the gods. Big stuff would get their attention. You know what I mean? But like, people could do a lot. It was like the gods, people kind of thought, well, maybe the gods don't see. Right? And maybe the Most High doesn't see. The Bible asks that question many times. Maybe the Most High doesn't see. Of course, we know he sees. Or maybe he's so high he can't see. He's up in the circuit of heaven. Hast thou marked the old way which the wicked men have trodden? Again, that's it. You think he's not paying attention. Oh, the art changed with the Shroud of Turin. All of a sudden, around the 4th century, all the gods were like staring at you. Even like Zeus and stuff. He starts looking like the face on the shroud. It's just everything became like this direct portrait. Like God is now looking at man and having, because Jesus represented that. God came down and cared and enough to do something pretty amazing that like you wouldn't do for your neighbor. You wouldn't do that for your neighbor. I'll go, sure. How about next weekend? It's getting close, right? Easter. Go get crucified for my neighbor. Or how about for a wicked man? You know, because the thing is, there are wicked men that get saved. It's not every, God affords the opportunity to repent. Some of us go down a dark path. I mean, I've been a sinner, and for me, it's as wicked as I can. But it's like, I didn't do everything that my heart could imagine because I always did fear God a bit. There were certain things I could never do. For me, it was always marginal things. Like, well, hey, drinking is just something it's not forbidden. Some people think it is. Okay, drunkenness is. Okay. I know drunkenness, don't be drunk. But the thing is, you can drink some amount of that without being drunk. It's a snare, oft times. But also, it's a matter of conscience. But, those things are the ones that get us. Because it's like, my conscience tells me I need to be the best. Yeah, it's like if I'm going to use that, it's going to be the amount that doesn't make you lose my, or doesn't make you dependent. All those things. And thank God it's not like, I have a problem murdering people. It's like, yeah, well, hey, that's 99% of us. Thank God. Thank God we're not all murderers, okay? But it's like, but there are murderers who will enter the kingdom of heaven before some people who never killed nobody. Because that's the mercy of God. He's sometimes very gracious. The things we go through life and he understands our frame and the weakness of it, and also the temptations of this life and how strong they are. And also the fact that it's like he has to open our eyes. And if when he does, we have that response that he has built in, that he looks for and loves, and when he sees that, that's a great sign of his favor. And that's what I look for. I look for God's favor. Because that's that's the only thing I can get saved by. He's got to favor me. He has to be merciful on me. That's why I put my faith in him. Other men, they don't put their faith in God. They don't believe what do we have to do with him? What's he going to do for us? He's saying, when you think God isn't watching and all that stuff, you're marking that old way that wicked men have tried. It's as old as ever. And I remember when our leaders really used to they feigned their religion to the degree that it was almost believable that they believed it. You know what I mean? They seem to genuinely be Christians. But then more and more as I go on, I just see leaders as just, they're not, they always were for the most part, not all, but for the most part, they were nominal. And this was all lip service. Not every single, like I said, in all of history, but many leaders have been unbelievers. But now they don't even pay lip service. And they're openly hostile to Christianity, persecuting Catholics. And I'm not Catholic. I just don't want to see anybody persecuted for their faith. Because whether they like the Roman Mass, they might be too old-fashioned or something. There's some weird thing where they're watching this. They're spending money watching that. I personally, I can see why someone likes a Latin Mass. It's kind of old and retro, and it's kind of neat. It's like, it's kind of spooky. Depart from us. We don't want God involved in our lives. Get away from us. Depart from us. Let us break their shackles asunder. We don't want God's chain. We don't want, what's God going to do for us? Them. What can the Almighty do? They say depart from us. And he says, and what can the Almighty do for them? Yeah, because they're not, what's the point of going to God when you plan on doing wrong, God isn't going to bless it. So why even try? Especially when you can do so well without God, without giving heed to God. Why pray to God? And he filled their houses with good things. But the counsel of the wicked is far from me. That's the line Job also said earlier, right? I don't believe this, but that's what they feel. You can get good things by following the counsel of the wicked. You know, if you can follow that counsel, if your conscience will suffer you to. It's one of my crippling things in life. One of the reasons I could never get very far ahead financially is, one, I was too busy doing things that were more important to me, but also just my conscience made it difficult for me to, especially when you're talking about business, like to pursue the money the way you have to collect it, to haggle for prices and all that stuff. The righteous see it and are glad, and the innocent laugh them to scorn. Well, hey, he who laughs last laughs best, and the innocent will laugh last. But right now, according to the book of Revelation, they're all screaming their bloody brains out underneath the altar, crying aloud. Under the altar, screaming out, "How long, O Lord, holy and true?" I don't take that literally. I just take that as like God never forgets about the suffering of the innocent, especially his servants. Those who, who serve him, who do what he says. And that's the essence of what it means to serve God, right? To do what you serve by doing what you're told. I mean, that's pretty elementary. The innocent laughed, you fools, you went after evil, ha ha ha. Now we see the evil get theirs, but not always. What is our substance? The innocent, no, again, it's easy to pile on when you see it happening to someone when it hasn't happened to me. My stuff, I've never lost my stuff. Yeah. Our substance is cut down, but the remnant of them is burned up in the fire. There's nothing left. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. Thereby good shall come to you with him, the Lord Almighty. Receive the law from his mouth. If you, and this is true, acquaint yourself with God to find peace, and you'll obtain good. But it's like he's kind of saying to Job, Job has already done this. They just don't understand that sometimes bad things happen to good people, and meaning people who are reconciled. When I say good people, I mean people whom God accepts. They're not perfect, but God accepts them. In every nation, he that doeth righteousness and fears God is accepted with him. That's what it said in the book of Acts 11 concerning Cornelius, the Roman centurion. It's like in performing, if you do God's will, you're already halfway there to pleasing him. And that's already a sign that he's already influencing your life. Because I do believe that. People, they'll say, you can have morality with God, without God. God helps us understand morality because we have that conscience, which is a reflection of his nature. He has a conscience. That's why, what do you think he has an idea of what right and wrong is? That's his conscience, his desires, his will, and also his conscience. Receive the law from his mouth. Hear the word of the Lord. And then take those words, cherish them up in your heart. All good advice. Just really, it's like someone telling me that, Paul, you should study the Bible. You really should read the Bible once, Paul. You've never read the Bible. Come on, Paul. Read the Bible and turn to Jesus. Have you accepted Jesus in your heart, Paul? Come on, Paul. Accept Jesus in your heart. It's like, dude, it's like, I've accepted Jesus. Well, maybe you didn't do it right. Come on, maybe we'll take you through all the steps, huh? First of all, repeat after me. I'm a sinner. And go on through all that stuff. It's like, no, I have turned to the Almighty. I've turned to Jesus. It's already been done. It's all done. And that's part of the insult and the mockery that Job feels from all this. If you return to the Almighty, you will be built up. You will put away iniquity far from your tabernacles. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. You will lay up gold like dust. Ooh. The gold of Ophir as the stones of the brooks. Very common, just like the stones from a stream. Nothing special, just pebbles from a stream. I mean, you can get a big bag of river rocks over at Menards for just $2-3. 60-pound bag. Yea, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. We all want to have lots of silver, don't we? Well, send your 10%, pay your vows unto the Lord, and he will be sure to pour out a blessing upon you. Test him now and see. Don't you believe the Bible? And when you're done testing him like that, why don't you test him by throwing yourself off a building? Because it is written, his angels will take charge over you and bear you up in their wings so you don't dash your foot against a stone. Show your faith. Demonstrate it. Pick up a snake and jump off a building with a snake maybe while you're drinking poison. Demonstrate how strong your faith is. That's tempting God. That's not faith. It's also showing a fundamental misunderstanding of what those things mean. Be not simple-minded in such a simplistic way. Don't be a simple one like that. We want to be simple in regards to evil, but not in regard to the sophistication of our understanding of the depth of faith and the mercy of God, and the nature of God. That's a very deep subject. So yes, we can be simple concerning evil and good. It's not that hard to discern both good and evil. That's something for babies to learn about. Those that are full age know the difference. It's why it disappoints me when I see people rooting for the Israelis over the Palestinians when I say, you don't know the difference between good and evil. Well, and also I know that since I used to think the same thing, I think a lot of people are just the victims of propaganda. And it took like the overwhelming years of the pandemic to really make me just start being skeptical about everything. And digging and finding out there's good reason to be. It's the Almighty shall be thy defense, thy strong tower, thy shield, just like all the other scriptures say. It does not indicate absolute defense. It just means, when it talks about that in the Bible, it's like, my defense is the Lord. That doesn't mean I'm invincible. It just means when I flee to a place for defense, I go to the Lord. I don't go to the things that man trusts in. I go to the Lord. And there I will get my answer. And he will either save me or he will not. But I will not stop serving him. It's like Daniel says, I don't know if we're going into the fire or not, but we're not going to bow before your image. And we may get burned up in the fiery furnace, or we may be saved in the fiery furnace. But whatever happens, the only thing I know for sure is I'm not going to bow before your idol. And that's how we have to live. Thou shalt have thy delight in the Almighty, and shalt lift up thy face unto God. To be able to look at God again without having to hide your face in shame. You'll make a prayer unto him, and he will hear. He's not going to turn it, I don't want to listen. I don't listen to prayers from people like that. God heareth not sinners. Sinners got to, because God doesn't hear sinners. That's true. We have to reconcile ourselves with God, and then he'll hear us. Even though we have been sinners, It's like I said, when you start praying about other things. It's one thing when you're going to God with your sin to talk with him and to be reconciled and to look for assistance or wisdom or whatever it is you happen to need. This feels good to stretch. Oh, sorry. Oh, when you go to him for those things, it's one thing. Well, sometimes we go to God for other things, like, help about this financial situation or my car. When you start going to these things that are beyond the most important things, you better have those first things first. Like, we want to first, if we have vows, pay your vows first, right? You pay your vows. You will decree a thing and it shall be established. And the light shall shine upon thy ways. You're not going to be in darkness trying to hide everything you're doing from sight. All the things you do, you will be able to do in light in the sight of everyone, because they're right. And you will name it and claim it. That's what it sounds like, right? You will decree a thing, and it will be established unto thee. Oh, hallelujah! Let it be so. And that's somewhat true. But again, it's by like I said, by having God's word in you and abiding in Him. Yes, when that word comes flowing out, it can be when God, especially when it's in His name, and He has done it. When men are cast down, then I shall say there is lifting up, and He shall save the humble person. And when people are down, you're going to say, hey, there's still tomorrow. You can get up again, man. There is hope. Yeah, I think that's what that means. And saving the humble person, He shall deliver the island of the innocent. Usually island means like coasts or borders. And that makes more sense. The border is where the incursion comes in, where the enemy starts coming in. And it is delivered by the pureness of thine hands. Let's look at that at the NIV real quick. Did I just do that? No, I didn't. Well, okay. This is weird. In the NIV, they don't have island or anything like island. It says just this: He will deliver everyone who is innocent, who is not innocent, even one who is not innocent, who will be delivered through the cleanness of your hands. It doesn't. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go to the King James again, because I'm interested in what it says. The island. All right. Well, apparently this word island is not the word island. All right. So here we go. This is good. You want to remember someplace where the King James didn't do a good job translating? Last verse of Job 23. How about that for 22, sorry. How about that one? He shall deliver the island of the innocent. Come on. It's a negative participle, apparently, or whatever. E. Oh, it's also not. Oh, wonderful. This is the only place this is used in the entire Bible. Definition: island, coast, region, derived from a word meaning to be desolate or to be ruined. Not. And apparently the both translations they have here, both translated island. I don't know. It's probably honestly, they say it's not. I think they're probably right. It's the only place it's used. It's probably just a corrupt spelling or something copy error, and it's just wrong. So it ends up like, oh, that looks like island. Oh no, it's supposed to be not. Something like that. That's what's going on there. Well, I've gone over an hour. That's good because we're at the end of the chapter. So it's like he shall deliver the non-innocent. And it is, so wait. And he shall save the humble person. He shall deliver the non-innocent. Well, I think what he's saying is he will deliver the non-innocents when the pureness of your hands. The interesting thing about the hands is the hands may be washed. And there are ceremonial washings, and we wash our hands of things. And that what Eliphaz is actually recommending is kind of come to Jesus, even though he's not talking about Jesus. He's saying come to God, come to the Almighty. He will forgive you. Learn of Him. You need to be more pious. Follow your religion more faithfully. Wash your hands. Make you clean. And then He will deliver you, even though you're not innocent. Because He does that. And that's true also. But he's just wrong about Job. Job is not guilty. And so it's the wrong advice at the wrong time. He's a terrible comforter. He's got some things right and some things just flat out wrong, like we said. So, anyways, thanks for joining me for this study. We look forward to being back in tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow or maybe Monday. We'll see how it goes. Until then, remember the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy, and he is the fulfillment of the law.
Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed. Say, let us break their shackles asunder and cast away their chain from us. He that sitteth in the heaven